Prying parents. What secret of your child did you discover that made you wish you hadn't? Not even really prying, but came home from work early one day and heard the shower running in the bathroom my son uses. Then I heard some decidedly loud, sounds of enjoyment from a female. Figuring none of us wanted to deal with the embarrassment of an interruption, I retreated to the living room. About 15 minutes later, my son and his girlfriend came downstairs and were quite surprised to see me already home. Figuring this would be a good time to twist the knife a little, I said, "So, what were you guys up to in the bathroom, together?" My son stammered out, "Well, we had been in the pool and wanted to wash off the chlorine, and we were in a hurry, so we went in together, but we kept our bathing suits on." Then his girlfriend looked at him like he was the world's biggest idiot and said, "That's what you're going to go with?" I looked at her and said, "Yep, that's what happened." She looked at me and said, "Okay, we're going with this story." I told him it sounded reasonable. The girlfriend, well, just friend now, is an interesting character. Another time they came into the house and my son had a giant hickey in his neck that he was trying to hide with a turned-up collar. Because I enjoy watching him squirm, I made a comment about it. My son started going into this explanation about how he got it during baseball practice. Then the girlfriend pipes up with, "Oh, come on, he's not stupid. I did it. Sorry, I'll be more careful next time." Brutally honest. Couldn't give a damn if you judge her. I keep holding out a faint hope that they will get back together someday because she's pretty hilarious to have around when the uptight relatives come to visit. This girl is a national treasure. Not to mention the story is adorable in a weird way. Story 2. A friend and I made a prank video from a girlfriend in high school in one of those original flip disposal video camera things. The prank was us sitting on my bed saying one line of dialogue. "I hope, girlfriend, never finds out about us." Then we pretend to kiss as the video falls to the floor. Now you can only hear us making noises for a minute. Anyways, as funny ideas go, we forgot about it and never let my girlfriend find the video. Fast forward about 6 months and my dad comes into my room shaking, red-faced holding the camera. "What the f*** is this? I can't believe you did this in my home. You're never allowed to see Tim, my friend, again." I was so scared and hurt that my only response was, "You can't tell me to never see him again. He's my best friend. I do everything with him." I was so flustered that I never even told my dad I wasn't gay. He might still think I'm gay. Maybe I am. I missed him. Story 3. Wasn't my child, but he used to work in a phone shop and I was transferring this kid's photos to his new phone. It was the first of that model I sold, and little did I know I had a pre-installed app that showed a gallery on the second homepage after you swiped right. I was explaining how to use it, and the default image the gallery function decided to select was a fully frontal bare photo of this poor kid's junk. Frankly, I didn't know where to look. I tried to subtly shift the phone away from his mom, but she had already seen it. It got an absolute public telling off in the middle of the store. Went on for some time while I was just awkwardly holding this phone with a photo of this kid's junk. Good times. You get to see some interesting things on people's phones. Story 4. Not the parent, not the kid in question. Probably worse, though. I've told this story before. Here's the cliff notes anyway. Media class. Make a group YouTube account. 3 of us share a YouTube account. Me 16, her 16, her female friend 16, her younger brother 11. See where this is going? We went to her house to film. She stays logged into YouTube on her home PC. Fast forward a few weeks later in class. Searching YouTube or cloud history while connected to the projector. Multiple and repeated girls in white undies video and search variations almost daily. Girl assumes it's me and that I've been stealing her drawers whilst at her house. Not fun. Rumors spread. Teachers got involved. I denied everything. Got suspended, threatened with being expelled, ended up in counseling. Got billed for drawers I didn't steal too. Ended up leaving school a few months later. All because her younger brother hadn't discovered the website for those things. Oh man, this bothers me so much. They probably just didn't want to think it was him. Story 5. My mom really liked to really go through my stuff. Whenever I'd be out of the house, school trip, sleepover, she'd feel inspired to clean my room and find something to be pissed at me about. But there's a very specific story to tell here. When I was 17, I pierced my own junk. No, I did a lot of research. Purchased an autoclave piercing needle, appropriate internally threaded jewelry, and Pennington slotted forceps. I did all the research, pierced it with no problem in our bathroom, and went about my life. It wasn't the smartest thing, but everything worked out. Now I also knew that you can't just dispose of a piercing needle. So I wrapped it in a paper towel and then duct taped it all together. That way there'd be no accidental pokes. I shoved that into a container tucked in my closet to dispose of later. Anyways, I was out on some school trip for a few days, and you can probably guess what happened. When I got home, my mom wouldn't look at me or talk to me. I had no idea what she was mad at me for, although I had an educated guess, so I just left it alone. I was laying on my bed in my room later when my mom walked in and just handed the phone to me, no explanation given. I put it up to my ear. Hello? Hi, this is so-and-so from Dr. So-and-so's Office of Urology. Your mother tells me that you pierced your own junk? Yeah. I have no idea how she knew what exactly I pierced. I guess process of elimination, but she forced me to make an appointment. Long story short, the doctor was impressed with the piercing. Apparently, the only piercings he sees aren't doing too well, and told me and my mom so. It was really vindicating for me, but she was so pissed. I told her I did, but didn't. She couldn't force me to show her, so we just went on with our lives. And then I moved across the country for college the next year. Story 6. When I was in high school, I had an unusual set of circumstances fall into my lap. Middle class, white, and a sort of midway between suburban and rural town. I'd been dating the same guy since I was 12 or 13. He had been kicked out of his house, and being the loyal and crafty 15-year-old partner, I built a false wall under my loft-style bed, a cavity hidden behind my little mini love seat where he could sleep. He was somewhat older than me and not in school anymore, so after the first few weeks, some modifications had been made to the setup. We moved my little 11-inch bubble TV next to the couch, opened a small slit in the false wall, and ran controllers through so he could play video games without the possibility of getting caught. He also got a shoe organizer and hung it down from the bed into his little nook and filled it with snacks. He bought the same laptop as me so I could switch them on with the charger and no one would be the wiser. We managed to get by like this for a couple of months. And then I messed up by borrowing my mom's earrings and forgetting to return them. She came into my room one evening when thankfully both my boyfriend and I were not home, looking for her earrings. I didn't know that my boyfriend had stashed his grass in my jewelry box, and so as she was digging through my things, she stumbled upon a cigarette box with a dime inside. This prompts the tearing apart of my room, uncovering various other paraphernalia, such as a rubber, a ritual knife, and eventually, the shoe organizer full of snacks. She left all of it in a pile on top of my dresser with a note in the cigarette box that said something to the effect of, "You're making bad choices and I hope you course correct." I'm sure it would have gone much worse than a sticky note if my parents had pieced together that I had someone living in their house without their knowledge, so I guess this is a reversal. I'm a kid that is seriously glad my parents didn't discover my secret. I have so many questions. But the one that tops it is, can you elaborate more on that ritual knife? Seriously, what you guys did is dedication. Anyway, what I want you guys to dedicate your time on is hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel for more amazing content. Now, let's get back to the video. Story 7. My sister and her son lived with me and my parents when he was younger. I would babysit while my sister was in college. When my nephew was 6, he started to hang out behind the couch. Every day he would go back there and just hang out. I figured, hey, whatever, it's probably like a fort for him. Well, one afternoon, he's just laughing his bum off, having a great old time behind the couch. I lean over so I can see what's up and ask if he wants a sandwich or something. And all around the baseboard are the largest collection of dead bugs I've ever seen. All laid out, some with little flowers or rocks at their heads like little tombstones. It was like a bug graveyard. My nephew looks at me and starts laughing. I ask him what's funny. He points at the bugs and says, "Look, Auntie," insert my name here, "they're all dead." I say, "Yes, they sure are." He replies, "They always ran away when I would catch them, but things don't move anymore when they're dead, so they stay with me." I kind of looked at him weird, then just asked if he wanted a sandwich. I was very unsure about what to do about this, so I said nothing and let him play with his bug graveyard. He seemed to like it. I gave him a little box to put his bugs away in after he was done playing because my mom would have lost her mind if she found a bunch of dead bugs, and I'm not sure how my sister would react. He's a very normal 15-year-old now and is really into biology and geology, and going into biology in university. I guess the bugs were just his early understanding and interest in how biology works. But man, until he announced he was into biology in high school, I was always on the lookout to see if he was becoming a psychopath or something. Apparently, though, my sister knew about the dead bugs and had wondered where he got the box from, but he didn't tell her it was me because he was worried I would get in trouble. She told him not to play with his bugs if Grandma was home, and my mom knew about the bugs too and just told him to make sure he washed his hands after, but didn't tell us because she thought we would freak out. Turns out we all knew about the dead bugs and kept it from each other, thinking we were protecting the kid from having his hobby taken away. It never clued us into the fact that everyone knew about the bugs. Story 8. We adopted one of our kids and he's biracial, while the rest of the family is white. Back when he was in second grade, I found a writing assignment that the kids had to do. They essentially had to write 3 things they would wish for if they had a genie. One of the things he wrote was, "I wish I was white." That really hit me hard. I thought we had done enough to incorporate his racial and cultural background. It wasn't something we just ignored. It hurt to see that he didn't want to be who he was and that we had something to do with that. I hated that he felt that way and I hated that I found it. In hindsight, however, I'm glad I found it. It opened up the dialogue even more and our son revealed that he wanted to move somewhere where he wasn't one of the only black kids. We did end up moving to a much more diverse area a few years later, and I love it here. My son is now in middle school and was pretty comfortable talking about racial identity. As much as it hurt finding the paper, I think it was beneficial to get it out in the open. Story 9. My entire family was helping my aunt and her son move house. Her son, my cousin, was 14 and had his first girlfriend, was also there helping load furniture and boxes. Each room was packed and loaded onto a truck by midday except for my cousin's, as he had insisted he do his own room. His room hadn't been packed at all. The only distinct difference was 3 trash bags, poorly tied in the middle of the room. My auntie, furious with his progress, refuses his pleas to let him do it alone and grabs a bag to take to the trash. And in front of everybody, my mom, grandparents, uncles, cousins, sisters, etc., she accidentally drops the bag and it unties, spilling out used rubbers all over the hallway floor. We are talking heaps of them, a full trash bag full. Keep in mind there was 2 more full bags as well. His girlfriend went home with tears of pure shame pouring out her eyes, and he sort of stood there in a panic, not knowing whether to run away in embarrassment or pick up his rubbers that were sprawled out in front of our entire family. It was a day to remember. Story 10. Okay, I'm gonna do the classic not my kid thing, but yeah, not my kid, but my kid sister. Okay, she's 3 years younger than me, but she's the youngest, and I always call her my kid or baby sister. I went into her room to try to steal one of her many phone charger wires. She'd left her bag on her bed and it was open. The second I saw it, my heart dropped. A pregnancy test box. She'd just turned 17. I searched for the test, but it wasn't there. I truly wished I'd never found it for a moment or two, but then I realized I needed to support my sister. Eventually, she came in from work and I explained what had happened. She immediately just turned and started walking up the stairs, saying nothing. I followed her and reassured her that I wasn't angry and wasn't going to tell my mother. I just needed to know so that I could support her through this. She then burst into tears and told me that the test had been positive, but she miscarried a month ago. Honestly, I was heartbroken. Both for the loss of the baby, but also because she hadn't felt she could tell us. I'm glad that her then-boyfriend's family was in the know and his mother was apparently very supportive and had taken her and her boyfriend to the hospital and taken good care of her. But I wish she had let that be me. I wish I'd felt she could tell me. I supported her through it the best I could and we had lots of cuddles and cried together a lot. She still didn't want me to tell her mom or other sister, and I didn't. A few years later, she fell pregnant again, and I like to think that I did right by her after the miscarriage because I was the first person she told. Unfortunately, that pregnancy also ended in loss. Fast forward a few more years and I now have the most beautiful nephew and niece I could have ever imagined. They have no idea what they mean to me. My, that was a roller coaster to read. You're a good sister. Story 11. I came home from work one day to a horrendous smell. Following my nose to the kids' bathroom, I saw my daughter, then maybe 9, with a Barbie doll. Barbie was bare and her hair had been chopped off. My daughter was holding Barbie by her little neck over the sink and had a lighter at Barbie's foot. Talk! My daughter screamed as Barbie's foot melted into the sink. I told you to talk! My first thought was that my daughter should not have had access to a lighter, so I asked her where she got it. Oh, it was with Daddy's cigarettes, she told me, sweet as she could be. What are you doing with Barbie? I asked her, trying to keep my voice calm. My daughter's eyes hardened and she nearly snarled. She won't give up any secrets, so I have to torture her. This was out of character for my daughter, and we were not a household that condoned torture under any circumstances, so that really took me by surprise. Okay, honey, can you maybe find a way to torture Barbie that won't release toxic fumes? My daughter thought about it for a moment. Sure, she cheerfully told me. And honey, please give me the lighter. She handed it right over. To this day, I don't know what secrets a plastic doll might have held or what methods were next employed, although I did find a plastic arm on the floor sometime later. My daughter did not grow up to be a psychopath or to work for an intelligence agency, but rather for non-profit arts organizations. She opposes torture and thinks that all people, including prisoners, should be treated with dignity. She's very kind to people and animals. I have never witnessed any cruelty, except for that one incident, which is still a bit alarming to remember. That is actually pretty funny. Reminds me of Sid from Toy Story. Story 12. For my sister, her children, my niece and nephew, are ages 8 and 11 respectively. She's always asked my nephew to hold his sister's hand in parking lots, crossing the road, and coming home from school. My niece tends to wander a lot and doesn't always pay attention, so someone usually holds her hand whenever there are cars around. As my nephew has gone older, he has found his little sister annoying. He stays in his room with his computers and games and tablets, and the two of them fight a lot, and he now refuses to hold little sister's hand when asked. He says she's old enough to look after herself and he's too old to hold someone's hand. One day while my sister was coming home, she saw the school bus coming to drop the kids off. She got curious as to how they came home, walking together, separately, fighting, walk with other friends, so she spied. The kids came off the bus, and just as natural as can be, my little nephew grabbed little niece's hand and they walked home hand in hand. My sister was so excited about how sweet it was that she didn't keep her mouth shut about it. She told everyone. And the next time little nephew refused to hold his sister's hand while they were out, his mother brought up that she had seen them at the bus stop. Little nephew got embarrassed about the bus hand-holding and refused to do it again. A few weeks ago, I was out with the family and I grabbed my niece's hand in a parking lot. She quietly and sadly said, "Little nephew doesn't hold my hand anymore." It's done now. My niece doesn't mention it anymore, and neither does my nephew. My sister is really sad about it because she potentially ruined a sweet childhood memory for both of them. Story 13. My kids aren't quite old enough to ruin my view of their innocence yet, but when I was a kid, my grandma found my rather hefty stash under the bathroom counter one day while cleaning. Had my own small bathroom at the time. Got really embarrassed about it until I realized that she just strained them out into a neat stack and never said a word about it to me to this day. Hell of an old lady. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you made it this far, I'm sure you'll also enjoy. Parents, what did your kid do that secretly impressed you? Story 5 might just work. See you in that video.